Hello, everybody, and very good morning once again to each one of you. Well, I think it's time to begin the next topic of discussion. And ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome Mr. Ashish Upadhyay, the Country Director, Asia Pacific of CYLUS Cybersecurity, India. He has a decade of international experience in the rail industry, working in mainline and urban transport projects. He has received international awards in innovation and security for mobility projects. Ashish is on a mission to secure rail companies from cyber attacks. Very warm welcome, Mr. Ashish.
And thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much. So, Ashish, over to you.
So first of all, I would like to thank the organizers to have this topic here discussing about the cyber security. Okay, and cyber security is a broad area. Today, this particular topic on understanding what is going around into the industry and what are the future steps on cyber security will focus on that. So I would like to present my screen, and with that we will zoom into this particular topic. So I think I have been already introduced. So coming from the background from railways, I'm a railway expert. Worked in mainline and with urban companies. So I've worked for many domestic and national infrastructure projects in the country, and later on for Asia Pacific, Europe and Latin America. So now I'm responsible for cybersecurity for CYLUS in Asia Pacific region. So if we zoom in and if we try to understand, I have previous topics or the previous sessions have talked about cybersecurity. There were few good pointers from Lalitji, from Mr. Vikram, from Mr. Krishna, and also from Mr. Pankaj Jain. And I would like to I would try to address those few pointers into my presentation. Would like to fit in here, and let's move forward and see where exactly the industry is. So what has happened in last 10-15 years in the railway industry is, if we talk about, we are adding more number of tracks each and every day. So, and if we talk about tracks, it's not about tracks, but we are also using predictive maintenance, digitalized solutions, or more number of IoT devices into our railways ecosystem. So there is a race of getting advanced, and because of that, what is happening is there is still people not aware about what exactly they need to do if we talk about cyber security, and we will zoom in that part in the later slide. But because of digitalization, there is a lot of convergence between IT and OT part. So let me give you a little bit background on that. So IT, like people know about that, there are a lot of infrastructure which is on IT, but there are OT systems, which is operational technology, and OT is the safety critical part of the network. And if you talk about in railways, there are a lot of wireless communication that is also being used. Wireless, if we talk about 2.4, 5.8 gigahertz, that is one part. Train to ground communications, and there are Wi-Fi on board trains that are also coming. And if you talk about there is an introduction of grade of automation for UTO, unattended train operation, or driverless train operation. So that is also happening. And we have also seen in the past there are a lot of advanced CCTV technologies which is also getting introduced into the market, and it has been adopted in the Indian ecosystem or the global ecosystem as well. Okay, so what is happening here is, because of the introduction and the linkage between IT and OT ecosystem, and if we talk about these different systems which are getting deployed into the railways, there are various Chinese websites, there are various websites like Shodan, which is Google of IoT devices. It keeps on monitoring the loopholes into the industrial or railway ecosystem, and a lot of information of the OEMs, the named OEMs into the railways. So the systems which is being deployed in, maybe take as an example Hong Kong Metro. Okay, the similar system would be used into the Indian metro systems as well, or the railway system. Okay, so most of the information is available on the on the internet. Data sheets, tender specification, everything is available. And what exactly is happening is it becomes easier for hackers to get to know about the ecosystem of the railway environment. And with those learning, and I told you there are different websites as well, which gives you the where exactly the loopholes are. So with that, the attacks can be easily can easily be launched. Okay, and in terms of the attacks, there are different kind of attacks, and we'll talk about it in some time. But on a very high level, these attacks definitely can come directly from through OT, through IT environment, through OT environment, because of the growing linkage. And definitely railway is a very complex environment altogether. There are so we just learned about systems of systems, right? And so there are 20 to 25 systems working and talking to each other. And these systems, if there is any loophole from inside any of the system, it can create a risk to the whole ecosystem altogether. And we also learned in the past is Mr. Pankaj referred that we need to make OEMs accountable for cybersecurity. But currently, there is a missing part here, and it's a missing element, and I will talk about it in the next few slides. Because what has happened in the railway industry or the railway network is the systems which were designed in the past were designed to be safe by default. Okay, we talk about safety integrity level. So there are SIL 4 systems, SIL 2 systems, SIL 0 systems which are working into the ecosystem. But those systems were not designed to be secure. Okay, a SIL 4 system can have a zero security level. If we talk about in cybersecurity world, it is called SL 0. Okay, so and this is one of the biggest risks to the ecosystem. Other part is most of the the rail companies in the country, or if we talk about the mainline as well, they haven't done any kind of risk assessment of their network in the past. And if some of them have done, they have not, so whatever the observations they have got, they have not implemented that. Okay, so this is also one important thing which has to be considered. And the systems which were designed for railways, most of those systems were not periodically, software updates never happen, because once OEMs deploys the system and once the warranty period expires, they go out, and these software updates gets delayed. And there are legacy systems which are working into the ecosystem. So there is maybe consider as an example, there is a line 1 and line 2 which was deployed like 15-20 years back, and now in the same network we are also adding one new line with the advanced signaling or rolling stock technology, right? So what is happening is so it's a mix. There are legacy systems which are working, there are new systems which are working in the same ecosystem. And definitely loopholes can come from anywhere. It could come from any of the OEM system. It can come from the insider part as well. So even employees also create risk to the system unknowingly. Okay, and if there is no cyber hygiene or there is no cyber posture that is being incorporated from the corporate level as well, it basically risk everything. And trains are the soft point. Like trains are the moving targets. If you Google it, it takes 18 minutes to hack into the train network. It's super easy to get into the train network. And railways is, again, I'm repeating, it's a complex and multi-vendor environment altogether. Okay. So what we have learned here is, because of these different pros and cons of adding new technologies and IT OT part, because things comes with a cost, right? So there are various attacks which has happened in the past in IT and OT environment altogether. In this presentation, will not zoom in into what kind of attacks have been happened, and because we have different case studies altogether, and it's very interesting to learn how hackers has gone into the attack. And I will tell you, I told you earlier that there are different kind of attacks which happen. There are ransomware attacks, there are malware kind of an attack, and there is denial of services as well. So some are state driven attacks. So what happens is, like, India has very nice neighbors, right? So what happens here is, it is very easy to most of the information also leaks out on the dark web. We'll talk about it, but it's very easy to get into the network, as we have learned, because of different risks where our current system are on, and there are attacks which has already been happened on our Indian railways or Indian metro ecosystem. And since these are very sensitive information, it doesn't come out, and we cannot show it publicly. But these are the use cases which you can go and read over the internet as well. So state-driven attacks are basically creating a damage to the infrastructure, and also it creates reputational loss for the customer as well, because these are always visioned as that you are the Indian railways or Indian metro system has been compromised, and it becomes a global news altogether. Okay, and now what is happening is, after COVID situation, the things have gone worse. Every 30 days there is some kind of attack which is happening into the railways ecosystem. Okay, and cyber hacking is a multi-billion business. There are people who are who gets paid for it. So it's 9 to 5 job. They come in the morning, see the global systems in different regions. They try to get into the network, and they wanted to take advantage of that, right? And definitely most of the systems in railway environment are poorly connected, and there is a huge myth into the railway industry that I'm having a closed loop system, or my signaling system is air gapped, or it's not connected to the IT part. But this is just a myth. It's pretty much wrong. And whenever I talk to the senior officials, maybe from the Indian Railways or in the metro organizations, they don't believe it. But there is always a next step, what exactly they need to do, and we'll talk about it as well. Okay, and the super important part is, there are departments into the railways, metros, which are working in silos. Okay, the important part is, there is a lack of cyber talent in the railway industry. Okay, people don't know about cyber security. There is no cyber security policy as such. There is a very high level, some metro organization have created a IT security policy, but it's pretty much useless and outdated, because cyber security is a game of cat and mouse. Okay, you have to be ahead of a lot of things, what is happening around the industry. And there are regulation and standards which has now being are now being reflected, but people are not aware of those parts as well. So what exactly they need to do, okay, when they want to build a new line, or if they need to procure a new rolling stock. Okay, because I remember Lalitji said that if you're buying a new train, and it's not cyber secure, so it's a dead body, right? So it's the same thing, and I think that touched. This is what I wanted to touch upon, because what happens is, here is, whatever the new systems are being bought in the procurement cycle, if you're not pushing the right cyber requirements in the tender stage, then you can't make accountable to the OEMs that you supplied the right cybersecurity solution, because there are global standards which has to be followed from the detailed design or the preliminary design itself. Otherwise, there's a lot of misses that could happen, and you cannot make OEMs accountable on that part as well. And if cyber attacks happen into the railway ecosystem, it can lead to costly downtime. It can lead to leak of intellectual property of the customer, the operational data of the customer. There is a impact on their IT and OT environment, and definitely there is a loss of confidence on using, because safety is the core, but if there is no security, you are compromising the safety of the critical assets as well. Okay, and recovering from a cyber attack is a different, it's a huge complex and process altogether. There is a huge financial obligations as well on that, and there are regulatory fines that have come into the global context. So if any of the European national operator had a cyber attack, and if there is a issue with the loss in life and property, so they go for penalty or a fine. So this is how the bad situation is. And definitely, I told you, like, there is a different process of recovering from a cyber attack, like discovery, investigation, containment, and recovery. And in the past, the use cases that we have seen earlier, so you can see how much an average cost of a cyber attack could be. Recovering is not an easy job, and the important part is the people who are using the system, the operators who are using their network, they would not able to operate it because of the denial of services. You don't get access to your own system. So what should I do as a rail company or as a rail operator? The important part is, since railway is a very different environment altogether from IT or OT part, so it's a rail OT. If we say, it's a very different piece of the game. So if you deploy any IT security kind of a solution, there are 1,000 number of companies who are providing IT security solution. Those are used in IT infrastructure. There are a lot of companies who are providing OT security solution as well. But if these systems or security solutions get into the railway environment, would that work? So the answer is no, because what happens here is, because railway is every OEM and the systems which are deploying into the railway environment, they are using some proprietary systems, protocols, and these protocols are very difficult to understand. Okay, and these IT OT systems, security solutions, which comes from the third party side, they were not able to understand these proprietary protocols, because they were not designed to be as per railway specific. And if these systems get deployed into the railway ecosystem, they will only give you a 5 to 10% coverage to make the network secure. And the other part is, and this is super important, that you need to have the right OT security solution into the ecosystem. Otherwise, the railway system cannot be secured. Okay, and now if we talk about the other important areas, most of the communications that are happening into the railway environment, if you talk about signaling and telecommunication department is responsible for it primarily, but similarly there is a rolling, so every system like SCADA, automatic fare collection, CCTV network, okay, these are different communications channel. And in railways, every system is a mini computer. Okay, this is very important to understand. And every small computer is creating lot of data. Okay, and definitely not lot of data is useful, but there are a lot of data which is safety critical, and we need to understand that most of the communications that are happening into the railway ecosystem is not encrypted and authenticated. So it's super important, and it's easy to understand that hackers know how to understand this communication. Okay, so and we talked about it in the past that security solutions are important, because railway systems were not built on it. Okay, and if we talk about some security solution have been deployed, and if it is not getting updated on time to time basis, suppose for an example, there was a recent attack which came into the picture some few months back, which is Log4j. Okay, but if again it's always a cat and mouse game. So if it is not getting updated, then again there could be a risk to the system. And the other part is, somehow the railway systems are poorly connected, and definitely whatever the reason that the signaling telecom and SNT community or the rolling stock community is saying that we are air gapped or poor, air gapped and not connected, it's just a myth. It's completely wrong. For that, you need to do a risk assessment, and with that risk assessment, you will know that yes, where exactly the loopholes are, and where exactly my my current system security is. Okay, this is one of the unique record. I'm just highlighting that there is other side of security, where the dark web comes into the picture. So some of the cyber attack happens, but the rail companies will not know about it. So there are a lot of data which got leaked out on this dark web. Okay, and dark web is like Amazon or Flipkart, where you steal the data of from any of the rail companies. You just put it there for sale. Okay, and if any state driven attack has to be done, you can just download the data, and you can understand the network, and you can get into a lot of things. So this is an important parameter, and this is called threat intelligence. And definitely, CYLUS as a company, we keep on monitoring the dark web of the customers, that if there is any of the customers' data gets leaked out, so we immediately update that part as well. This is the reason I'm highlighting this part. And so there are various forums on the dark web as well, which gives you an additional information how to hack a train Wi-Fi or a train network itself. So just follow the easy steps, like on YouTube, you get a video and you can just prepare your recipe. Similarly, it's the same thing. You follow the steps and you get into the train network. Okay, so it is very, very important to see it poses a risk to the safety. Okay, and most of the rail companies in the country, they don't know if they have been attacked, and most of the information doesn't come out publicly, because they feel that since I have been attacked, and if I get exposed on the news, so it will create a lot of reputational loss for them, as a company, and politically as well, because how the situation is in the country. Okay, and definitely recovering from a cyber attack creates a huge operational cost on the rail companies. Downtime losses is if train gets delayed, you can understand the consequences of denial of services kind of an attack. And rail companies don't know how to comply with the industry standards or regulation. They don't know what are those standards and regulation. That's the other part as well. So if we talk about other use cases, what I'm just talking about some use cases from the country itself. So some of these bigger OEMs are working on some of the lines, or they would be in the DNB phase, which is the design and build phase, or maybe they would be in the warranty phase. The trains or the signaling system would be in the warranty phase. So what happens is, periodically, or with some after some time, there are regular software or the baseline updates which happens. And if the TNC engineer or the warranty engineer system is compromised, okay, so, and if they are connected, and if they connect their laptop with the OT environment, so the malware, if it is into his system, gets into the railway ecosystem very easily. Okay, so it's not about the OEM, but the same thing happens with the insider employee as well. So these employees create risk to the system unknowingly. Okay, and again, they somehow connect their phones or USBs. If there is a good IT security policy that is being followed, then it's not a challenge. But if not, this becomes one more problem as well. And the other part is, if there is a wrong coding or data, okay, gets patched into the railway ecosystem, it creates a risk to the system as well. I hope you are understanding this part. And I am telling you that air gap is a myth, and there are various international agencies which explains this part, that how how this air gap is supposedly a myth into the critical system. So we need to see this point as well. Service disruptions is super important, because IT and OT connectivity, or the interfacing, or the convergence creates service disruption, which is one of the use cases. So what has happened is, because hackers know how to get into the train network very easily. Okay, So the regulators, the international regulators, understood that they have to do something, okay, and they have to create some kind of railway standard, okay, which can be easily adopted into the railway industry, okay. And so what happens here is, recently there was one standard technical specification that came from CYLUS, which is called TS5701, which is a rail cybersecurity standard applicable for the whole ecosystem, okay. So it is applicable for rolling stock, signaling, SCADA, telecom, everything, okay. So if there is any new project that is coming, I would suggest that bare minimum this adoption of this standard should be there, okay. uh, and there is an international OT standard, which is IEC 62443. It's an industrial standard which can be adopted into the railway environment. Similarly, if we want to do an IT, because there is an IT infrastructure as well into the same railway ecosystem. Okay, for IT infrastructure, there is a standard called ISO 27001. Okay, India, we'll talk about India about national cybersecurity strategy. But in Asia Pacific, in Europe, in US, there are some regulations, there are some standards which are adopted national wide. So Australia has AS7770, which is the rail cybersecurity standard for the Australian part, because they have a fear of being attacked by Chinese each and every day. Okay, so this is the reason it came to the picture. Singapore has their cybersecurity act for the critical infrastructure. US came with the revision of TSA directive for railway very recently in December 2021. So this is super important to know that this is where we need to focus on, and these standards should be adopted at a very starting phase from the procurement cycle itself. When the rail companies are writing the tenders, these standards should be there, okay. Otherwise you cannot make accountable an OEM that you have not provided me a cybersecurity solution, cybersecured baseline or a solution, okay. Similarly, what has happened in India is our honorable Prime Minister, focused on having a revised version of national cybersecurity strategy. So after seven years, we had this national cybersecurity strategy 2020, and if we talk about, we are moving towards safety and security piece. We are adding radio communication into the Indian railway ecosystem, TICA system, where we had a high level of security, which is mentioned there. But again, these standards or these the policies which has come up, it's again really vague and high level. It has to be adopted in a right way. There was a huge gap in the metro rail policy 2017, and there is no cyber security which is currently there. Currently I think MOHO is working on adopting having integrated cyber security in the new version right now. Okay, I'll not talk about the meaty and this part right now, but I will give an introduction of CYLUS here, okay, just to make sure that you get to know about the company. So CYLUS is a global leader in rail cybersecurity, focused on three main markets, which is metro, mainline, and freight company. We have the company is founded by the elite technological unit IDF unit 81 8200 employees, and they are now focused only on rail cybersecurity requirement, because they understood that there is a huge gap into this particular area. CYLUS is a marriage between the cybersecurity experts coming from IDF and the rail experts coming from different OEMs altogether, like Alstom, Thales, Siemens, Aegis. So, and we have 12 plus patents only on rail cybersecurity. We have a patent technological deep packet inspection, and we understand in bits and bytes what exactly is in rail cybersecurity. And we have 15 plus global project references. Okay, and we have technological partnership with different OEMs, which are shown here. We closely work with the industry groups like IEC, CYLUS, UITP. We understand what is happening around in the international view, and the solution which has been designed, which is CYLUS One, closely help rail companies to comply with these regulation as well. We have done deployments in India. So CYLUS has been deployed at GMRC Ahmedabad Metro Phase 1. Nippon Signal was the signaling system supplier there, and when there was a risk assessment done on Nippon Signal by Certified, which is a French company. So on IEC 62443, there was gaps and vulnerabilities which was identified. Systems could or architecture could not be redesigned at that point of time, and then we provided the solution. And now this is very important that we always talk about ISA. Okay, now ISA is having one more arm of cybersecurity, and they actually do the complete risk assessment and all those gaps if there is an OEM which is not supplying a cybersecurity baseline to you, both for rolling stock and signaling I'm talking about, and for the different systems altogether. And cyber requirements are being reflected into the tender stage. So, but again, these most of the the standards which are being reflected into these cybersecurity pages has gone obsolete, and it has to be upgraded. This is one of the part which, and now the new projects are upcoming where the cybersecurity standards are being adopted rightly, and which is important. We are also doing a lot of activities with RailTel Security Operations Center, which is for the main line. Okay, and this is one of the important part. And now the very good I would say part is from Railway Board, they understood that they have to adopt to TS 5701, which is the CYLUS standard, and IC 62443, because recently the Power Ministry has issued the cybersecurity framework guidelines for the for the electricity department, because there was an attack which has happened in Mumbai very recently, and the same traces of malware were found in Indian railway system as well. Okay, so this is how it is coming. CYLUS One is one of the solution which basically detects the malicious activities into the railway network. Okay, so there are different technologies that we support based on the product is based on AI and machine learning capabilities. It's a standalone product, not connected to the internet. It learns the pattern and the behavior, how the network is working, and based on that, it creates a baseline on its own, and it protects the whole network ecosystem. So there are two sides, which is one on the signaling infrastructure side, and another is onboard or the rolling stock side. And definitely, we have a threat research team which is sitting in Israel. Keep on monitoring different attacks which is happening globally. Okay, and we keep on enriching the CYLUS One platform through periodically, and there is this is one of the patented technology that we use, that is DPI. So it's a complete solution securing the rolling stock network. Rolling stock has three different important networks that needs to be secured. Otherwise, imagine a situation where the unattended train operation or the UTO trains get compromised. What could be the safety implication? So there are different networks like PCMS, PAPIS or PASSES, or Wi-Fi on board. This we monitor and we secure. Similarly, it's a complete zoom in for signaling system as well. Okay, with the challenge of time, I would not zoom in a lot. But the important part is we monitor the important safety critical network through our platform. We are a software company. We are not a hardware company. We use the commercial of the shelf product, which can be bought by the customer, and we can provide the intelligent, the platform that we have. And it is easy to integrate with the next generation firewall, ticketing solution, and all those things. Okay, this particular platform sits at Security Operations Center, which is the new concept for India. And we have operational control center, which everyone knows, and there is a maintenance part as well. So this is how it works. The different capabilities that we have with CYLUS One is we provide the complete visibility of the ecosystem, because it's very important to understand that if you don't know how many rolling stock I have, how many point machines I have, how many signals I have, how many train control system I have, I cannot protect them. So the important part from the regulatory point of view as well, that we need to have a proper visibility in real time of our assets. Okay, and we need to have the right threat detection mechanism to protect our safety critical assets. And the operations of these rails on the rails security side should basically help rail companies to do it very easily, okay, because this is a new topic and people are not trained on rail cybersecurity, so we help on that part as well. And then there is a compliance mechanism that we help rail companies to comply with IEC 62443 or TS 5701, which is a rail cybersecurity standard. And if we talk about the asset management, we provide the true visibility of the network, and this is super important because until and unless there is a true visibility, you cannot protect or secure your ecosystem. Okay. The other part is threat detection. Threat detection is where, based on our machine learning and deep packet inspection capabilities, we provide the we raise the system raises the alert based on different levels. So there are different categories: yellow, medium, and high. High is the red one, where if any safety is getting compromised, like if there is any unauthorized train movement or if there is a point machine condition which is getting changed. So this is being adopted in that way. So with respect of time, I would we can talk about these features later on, but it's 100% vendor agnostic, and we help rail companies to comply with IEC 62443 and TS 5701, and the rail companies which will get enhanced passenger safety, and definitely they will able to comply with this part. And the important part is it's a perfect balance between we need to maintain between safety and security. Okay, and the future steps is nothing but to comply the railway ecosystem with TS 5701, which is the rail cybersecurity standard. It is applicable for everything, and we need to have security operations center which can monitor in real time the signaling, rolling stock, IT, or the other assets altogether. Okay, and there is a different process, and we are setting up a security operation center for railways for the first time in India on the lines of Atmanirbhar Bharat in Mumbai, which will be operational next month. So thank you. With that, I would like to end. Yeah.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for finishing the session on time. Thank you. Really appreciate it.